Starting a new job always brings a mix of excitement and nerves. When I got hired for a summer gig at a small carnival in downtown Glendale, I was mainly looking to earn a little extra money before starting my final year of college that fall. The carnival was a typical setup rides, games, snack booths, but its biggest draw was the Funhouse, which doubled as a haunted house once the sun went down. Unlike the other attractions, it was a permanent structure rumored to have once been a wealthy man's estate. My assignment was to oversee the Funhouse, a favorite among visitors. The job seemed easy enough: guide guests and make sure everything ran smoothly and safely, and ensure they all exited. Initially, it all felt routine, but then strange things began to happen. At first, it was small discrepancies. I'd count 12 people go in, but only 11 would walk out. I chalked it up to human error, after all. It was tough keeping track amidst all the noise and movement. But as the days went on, the pattern continued. 7 entered, 6 exited, 10 and 9 out. It started to gnaw at me. One busy afternoon, I noticed a blonde woman approaching the Funhouse. She stood out stunning and seemingly out of place among the carnival crowd. Maybe a few years older than me, she had this elegant presence that made me do a double take. I'm not the type to stare, but for a moment I couldn't look away. She handed over her ticket, smiled, and I waved her in. I returned to my post, half focused on my duties, while also watching for her exit. As the evening wore on, groups who had gone in after her were starting to come out. I waited. A few more minutes passed, still no sign of her. Concern started to creep in. She should have exited by now. I left my post briefly and stepped into the Funhouse, locking the entrance behind me. I navigated through the dim corridors and narrow halls, familiar from my initial walkthrough. Then I noticed something I'd seen before, but hadn't paid much attention to: a barely visible seam in one of the walls. I pressed it out of curiosity, and with a soft click, the wall opened like a door. Behind it was a pitch-black hallway. I stood there stunned. What was a hidden hallway doing in a funhouse? I used my phone's flashlight and cautiously entered. At the end of the hall, another door appeared. I opened it to find an exit leading back to the carnival grounds. My mind raced. This explained the missing guests. They probably took a wrong turn, found the hidden door, and assumed it was the way out. As I turned to retrace my steps, disappointed that the mystery was less exciting than I imagined, and also that I wouldn't get a chance to talk to the girl, I decided to explore a bit longer. Why not take a short break? I wandered into a few more rooms until I noticed another subtle seam in a wall, just like the first. I pressed it and the wall opened again, but this time a horrible stench hit me immediately. There wasn't a corridor behind it, but a ladder leading downward. Confused, I hesitated. I had been told the building didn't have a basement, despite every instinct telling me to walk away. I started climbing down. The further I descended, the worse the smell became. I expected to find a basement, but what I found instead was a tunnel stretching into darkness. There was no way this was part of the original building. Logic screamed at me to turn back, but curiosity pulled me forward. As I crept through the damp silence, my flashlight caught something on the ground. A white, sparkly purse. I picked it up. It looked familiar. That's when it hit me. It was hers, the girl's purse. Panic surged. She had been down here. I called out, hoping for a response. Nothing. I was about to yell again when I heard rapid footsteps approaching. I turned to run, knowing nothing good could be coming. Halfway up the ladder, I slipped and fell hard. The footsteps grew louder. Just as I braced for the worst, a girl's voice called out. It was her. She was clutching her side, gasping for help. I urged her to climb the ladder, but she pleaded with me to go deeper into the tunnel. Instead, I refused and insisted she go up first. Once at the top, I slammed the door shut behind us. I asked how she ended up down there. Her answers were vague. She said she didn't know, just that she suddenly realized she was underground. She heard movement in the dark, voices calling out to her. I asked if someone had led her down. She couldn't say. What unsettled me most was the vacant look in her eyes. I asked again why she wanted me to stay down there, but she had no answer. That was enough for me. I wanted nothing more to do with it. I called the police. She left before they arrived, and I never saw her again. The investigation revealed something astonishing. The building had once served as a safe house during Prohibition in the 1920s. There were multiple hidden passages and secret exits, some leading to long-forgotten bootlegging tunnels. The current owner claimed ignorance about the Funhouse's history, but I remained skeptical. I quit shortly after that. Even now, I have more questions than answers. Did the owner know? Was that girl being targeted? Was someone else down there? Or worse, was she part of it? None of the possibilities sit well with me. There are likely several explanations for what happened, but each one is equally disturbing. From a young age, I was always fascinated by carnivals, the glowing lights, the endless games, the chaotic fun of it all. While others found them odd or immature, I couldn't get enough. Growing up in a quiet Indiana town, there weren't many options for entertainment, so whenever a carnival came around, I was the first in line and the last to leave. Even now, over 2 decades later, I still find joy in their festive charm. This story goes back to when I was about 10 or 11. I was a bit of a bookworm back then, often spending my time at the local library. A few days before the spring carnival was set to arrive, I found myself wandering through the history section. The books were thick with dust, clearly untouched for years. As I flipped through one about our town's past, a faded piece of paper fluttered out. Curious, I picked it up, and to my surprise, it was a ticket to the spring carnival dated over 15 years ago. The timing was uncanny. The date on the ticket was just 2 days. From then matching up with the carnival's arrival, I was thrilled. Not only was it a neat relic for my collection, but I thought it would be fun to take it to the entrance booth and see what the attendant would say. The next night, with the ticket safely in my pocket, I headed over. The carnival was just as vibrant as I remembered. The smell of cotton candy and popcorn filled the air. Laughter echoed from every direction. When I reached the entrance, I handed the old ticket to the booth worker. His expression shifted instantly. He went pale, and his eyes widened before he forced a smile, and handed it back without punching it. Enjoy your evening," he said awkwardly. His reaction rattled me a bit, but I brushed it off, figuring he was just confused by the outdated design. I wandered the grounds, played games, and ate a funnel cake, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't paranoia exactly, but I felt like I was being watched. Employees kept throwing strange glances my way. Eventually, I approached an older man running the ring toss. He looked kind and trustworthy, so I showed him the ticket. Unlike the guy at the gate, he didn't try to hide his shock. He quickly scanned the area and leaned in. "Son, where did you get this?" he asked. I explained, and his face turned grim. "You found something best left alone," he muttered. "That ticket's tied to a story people don't like to speak of." He went on to tell me about a young carnival worker named Ryan, well-liked, and in charge of a ride. He couldn't recall which one. One night, Ryan just vanished. The only thing left behind was his wallet, and inside it, a ticket that looked just like mine. After that, odd things started happening during every carnival visit: accidents, thefts, bizarre sightings. Some claimed it was Ryan trying to return, or something worse that had taken him. A chill ran down my spine. I asked if he truly believed it, and he simply shrugged. "I've seen enough to keep an open mind, but listen," he said gravely. "That ticket could bring trouble. Leave it here." He reached for it, but I hesitated. I glanced down, studying the worn paper. It was just a souvenir to me. His gaze darkened, his voice hardened. "Give it here," he growled. I instinctively pulled back. He lunged, nearly grabbing it from my hand. His demeanor shifted to something unsettling. "You don't understand," he hissed, eyes darting around nervously. I backed away, my heart racing. "I need to go," I said, slipping into the crowd as he shouted after me. His voice faded behind me, drowned out by the carnival noise. After that night, everything seemed to go wrong. I missed my school bus, injured my knee in a bike accident, and was falsely accused of stealing a friend's prized baseball card. Then it got worse. My mom lost her job, my brother broke his leg, and our dog, Bean, passed away. I couldn't help thinking of the old man's warning. My dad laughed off my concerns, calling it superstition. Still, the string of misfortunes was hard to ignore. One gloomy afternoon, after forgetting my lunch, I decided I'd had enough. I pulled out the ticket, now worn and creased, and stared at it. Fueled by a mix of anger and fear, I grabbed my rain gear and headed to the creek behind our house. Standing at the edge in the downpour, I tore the ticket into shreds and let the current carry them away. After that, things improved. My friend found his card and apologized. I stopped missing the bus. My mom got a better job. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe not. To this day, I still don't know what to make of it. My parents chalk it all up to childhood imagination. Maybe they're right, but I do know one thing: I've become a lot more cautious about what I bring home. Whether the supernatural was involved or not, some things are better left untouched. I've never been a fan of carnivals. They're messy, loud, and full of kids. The food, the games, even the way it all smells just puts me off. I guess my dislike of them is mostly due to what I'm about to share. A few years ago, my younger sister begged me to go to our town's carnival. I didn't want to be rude, so I went along, even though I wasn't looking forward to it. After a while, she got bored and asked to leave, so I called our mom. When she came to pick her up, I decided not to go with them. I was in the middle of a disagreement with my dad and didn't want to go home until he was asleep. I told Mom I'd walk home later, and they left. The carnival itself was a letdown. Fewer people than I remembered from past years, and everyone seemed miserable. Still, I'd paid for my ticket, so I figured I might as well try to make the most of it. I wandered around for a bit, and eventually decided to check out the Funhouse. I thought it might at least be interesting. To my surprise, the place was completely empty. Not a single other person in sight. I'd never gone through a fun house alone before, and I quickly realized how much the sounds of laughter and chatter add to the experience. Without that, the mirrors and silence felt eerie. Still, I shrugged and went ahead. I got a chuckle from some of the distorted mirrors, but halfway through, something strange caught my eye. In one of the mirrors to my left, I saw what looked like a bald man, with hollow eyes, watching me. It was only for a moment, and when I spun around, no one was there. With mirrors all around, it was hard to tell where he could have been. The creepiness only grew. I hadn't heard anyone enter behind me, so he either slipped in quietly or had already been inside. I tried to move faster, but then I saw him again, this time, grinning wildly. It was unmistakably the same face. I tried to pinpoint where he was, but the reflections made it impossible. I shouted at him to leave me alone, but got no answer. Panic setting in, I picked up the pace, but navigating the maze was tough. I kept hitting dead ends and looking behind me every few seconds. Then, after rounding another corner, a hand shot out from behind a mirror and grabbed my wrist. I screamed, trying to break free, and managed to punch his arm. He let go, and I stumbled back, getting a full look at him. He was wearing gray clothes, slightly overweight, and his face was sunken and tired. I bolted before he could grab me again. Somehow adrenaline made it easier to find my way back to the entrance, and I dashed out of the fun house, gasping for breath. That's when I realized my wallet was missing. I must have lost it during the scuffle. There was no way I was going back inside. I ran to the nearest staff member and explained everything. She looked puzzled and told me the funhouse had been closed to guests that night. Shocked, I stayed while the police were called. They searched the place but found nothing. Not even my wallet. I told them it was probably some former employee who still had access, but they brushed it off and sent me home. I wish that had been the end of it. A week later, my girlfriend called me in a panic. Someone had been texting her pretending to be me. They'd convinced her to drive out to a remote area, claiming I needed help changing a tire. Thankfully, she brought her dad along, despite being told to come alone. When they arrived, they immediately noticed the car in the lot wasn't mine. Her dad got out to assess the situation, and 6 men stepped out of the other car. He jumped back in and sped off before they could reach them. That's when it all clicked. My girlfriend's number had been written on a note inside my wallet, which explained how they got it. We both changed all our contact info, and for a month now, nothing else has happened. I'm still not sure how to process it all. Maybe it's best to try and forget it ever happened.